Hey y'all. Good to see so many people on here. There's a few tier 1 people in this room as well, just so you know. And maybe around 4 or so friends that are not in tier 1, just full disclosure, but that are either close to me and or have been around for a long time. So in case that makes a difference for you when you're asking your question or something, just let me know, I suppose. Can you all raise your hand if you have seen the Amsterdam weekend? And just keep it raised for a little bit because I got to scroll through 3 pages. Cool, okay. Well, I've been having the feeling like this program is coming to its official end. Doesn't mean the group has to come to an end, but just what is being offered for me as part of the official kind of curriculum has more or less come to an end. So I would say that this and probably one more follow-up session anytime within the next 3 to 6 weeks. It's like a Q&A and just see how you guys are doing, if anything's needed. But that signifies the end of the official curriculum. Now, of course, you can continue to create together, and I encourage you to do so. And if anything comes to mind for me in terms of sort of giving you a nudge as to how to create things potentially for Trinfinity, anything that's in alignment with that, that could potentially be endorsed by that brand name and fit in its umbrella intention. I will let you know, but feel free to create that to the best of your ability, continue to offer things and meet with each other. I recommend you continue to do as you have been doing. Now, as for the self-realization aspect, I really want to open it up to you guys, see where you're at with it. Let's keep it as concise and as focused as we can. But not sure what to deliver right now that I haven't delivered yet. So if you have any questions, then I could flow into clarifications and maybe see where there are some gaps in understanding. So let's jump straight in. Who has something regarding this stage of the course, material, the practice? Who has anything regarding that they've been struggling with, perhaps, that I can help you with? All right, everybody's enlightened. I like it. I was right. Officially the end of the course. No more questions. Kathy always has a question.
I have a question, actually.
So let's go for it. Did you unmute yourself?
I did.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, yes. I can hear you now too.
Okay. Can someone not think when they're driving a car? Because you're still using all your five senses, and it feels like a strong awareness of awareness. When I'm driving, I can get awareness of awareness, but then I'm trying not to think. But I have to look at mundane things.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to not be thinking while you're using your five senses?
Mm-hmm. Have you tried?
I am trying, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it.
Well, I'd recommend you try it with something other than driving a car till you get the hang of it. You can walk without thinking, no?
I stop to do that. But I do stop. Yeah, I try to walk, but I end up stopping. I'm like, no, I'm going to stop.
Okay. Well, maybe instead of focusing on not thinking, just focus on increasing awareness of awareness. And then if you end up not thinking, that's fine, but that shouldn't interrupt with your activities too much. Does that make sense? The distinction?
Not thinking should not interrupt with my activities too much.
Well, certain tasks require thought because that's what they're based on. Let's say calculating things, right? And whether to turn left or right requires some measure of thought, but it's not the same as thinking. I don't know. It's just, it's like, you got to turn left. You look at your GPS, you've done it for 20 years, you know where to go right or not. It's not really an intensely thoughtful process. So yeah, I mean, in my experience, you can drive a car and not think. And if a thought comes up, it's usually just for whatever is relevant, but then it's not disruptive to maintain that greater sense of Now, what can really help is to continue to feel that it's actually the I, the beingness, that is doing the driving and the navigating and the thinking and the experiencing, so that you can simultaneously feel like you're in a space that is almost removed from the activity of driving and the activity of thinking and even the activity of being. If you increase this, again, I don't recommend you start doing this when you're driving your car. Just start with meditation, start with walking, start with simple physical activities where there's no danger to your body or other people's bodies. But yes, it is possible. Does the distinction make sense as well? To be aware of the fact that there is a beingness, there's a consciousness, which is responsible for the whole creation, including the experience, the sensation of the body driving the car and the mind thinking whether it should go left or right. That's being done by the I am, by the consciousness, by the beingness, by the I. If you maintain awareness of the root, which is doing the activity, then you begin to go beyond it. A, you'll be more aware of awareness, and B, you'll start to transcend that.
Because it's real. It'll just happen. The more attention I put on it, the more it'll just happen. That's where I'm at, trusting that.
The more you place your attention on it, the more what will happen?
It will become bigger in my life. It'll become more obvious, more at play. And it is happening. It's definitely happening.
But what's it? What expectation or hope do you have?
Beginning that I can, well, I'm thinking a lot. I am thinking a lot less. I'm enjoying the play of life. I'm a lot less inhibited, but also beginning to recognize that I'm creating. It's almost like the sequence is shifting a little bit for me. Like it's where I put my thoughts is where the energy is going to go, and that's what's going to be created. It's just becoming more.
Okay, so this is indicative of a desire that's not been clarified. What do you want? What's like your desire at the moment?
It's always enlightenment, by the way, but yeah, enlightenment.
That's what it always is for everyone, even if they don't realize it yet. But That's your active desire?
Yes.
Okay. So when you say it, you mean enlightenment will happen?
Yes.
Okay.
In degrees, I feel it will be. Yeah.
What's enlightenment to you?
Is knowing for sure and living for sure the true nature of reality, which is creating your reality. Knowing, just knowing.
Say again? That's like 4 different disciplines in one.
It's a knowingness for me. Just
I don't recommend you drive a car on the busy streets, having 4 desires at once, trying to accomplish them while you're zooming out, being aware of awareness. So let's try to get a little more specific. What's enlightenment? You. What's it to you? I don't care what it is to me. Just tune into what your desire is, what you actually want, not what you've been taught or what images you have, but what innate desire you have. You don't even have to call it enlightenment. Just describe it as clearly as you can from the source of your own current momentum towards whatever that is. By the way, Luke, let me know if I should change the screen here, if that affects the recording. I still don't quite understand that. So right now, if the video shows like everyone, or if we should highlight somebody, just feel free to unmute yourself and let me know if you have an instruction for me.
Should I go? Yeah. So I envision it's a whole paradigm shift. So it's hard for me to actually describe it, but it's heading towards a whole paradigm shift where I am completely activated and orating. I see myself speaking, and could just be at this point could just be a pipe dream, but I do anyway. That's where I feel I would like to go. So I don't really know. I don't know if I'm taking the right baby steps. I'm just studying as much as I can, meditating quite a bit, aware of awareness, contemplating, hiking every day. I have a lot of free time, but I do spend it mostly all learning and contemplating. And then some kickback time, but I mean, remaining aware.
Susan. I'm gonna spank you.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm glad you're smiling.
I'm always smiling, even if I'm not.
Oh.
So you're at the end of these scores and you have no clue what you want.
Right. That's I'll just say it's been a pattern of many, many years. I did skip out on that calling homework.
Ah, why did you do that? Bless you.
Bless you. No, I don't know why.
Why did you do that?
Other than it's a pattern. It's a very long, okay, maybe I am.
How long,
Yeah.
how long have you been aware that it's a pattern?
Many years.
Then it's not a pattern, it's a choice.
It's a choice, right? And that's coming into awareness. Yes, I have made choices.
So,
by the way, Bentinho, I just sent you a chat.
okay.
Private chat.
Okay, that's good. So I can just keep it as however I want to.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Susan, I don't know what to say to you.
Well, now I'm embarrassed. It doesn't sound good.
Still love yourself to no end, but use that embarrassment as inspiration because you deserve better from yourself.
True.
Let me just tune in for a second. Do you feel changed at all?
Yes.
How have you changed?
I'm a lot less, I'm much more in the present moment. And I'm thinking a lot less. And I'm not validating most of my thoughts at all. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing a lot of things I've been able to drop in the last few weeks, I think. So I know there's progress. I know I'm changing, and manifesting's pretty interesting. And I see it's coming up against me. It's teaching me. I'm riding the wave.
So Susan, I think you should go back to the calling work and make up for missed time, for missed homework. And what I'd like to talk with you now is why, first of all, why did you skimp on that? That's a word, right?
On that homework?
Yeah, what's the subconscious reasoning or excusing or strategizing that happened around that you believed it wasn't relevant for you or whatever that was?
Well, now I'm trying to remember back, but exactly, I don't know what my mind story, I'm sure there was a story, but it's a pattern. It's been a lifelong pattern.
Okay.
Subjugating myself.
It's been a lifelong pattern or choice?
Yeah. Choice I made when I was 2.
And ever since? Ever since you've been without free will as the only entity in creation? So it's been a choice, no?
Yes.
Okay, so then why have you, now all you need to do, now the power is back. Okay, I've been choosing it. So now you can ask yourself, why have I been choosing it? What's the reasoning? What's the belief?
Fear of my power, most likely, or was being a highly sensitive individual with a lot of power.
Cool, and we're never afraid of our power. Forget the Merriam-Williamson quote. We're never afraid of our power. We're always afraid of what we'll lose once we're powerful. Nobody's afraid of power. Everyone wants to be a fucking god standing on top of the pyramids, flying to other planets and like, whoa, everybody wants that. Nobody's afraid of their power. They're afraid of what it will mean for their social life, their career, how people perceive them, etc. I mean, you could beg to differ. Maybe there are some exceptions, but in general, I would say it's a fear of letting go of something.
Well, family, I should be embarrassed to say family comes to mind because I don't have a career and I don't have a social life.
Okay, nice.
I'm home alone a lot. So it's not those. That's what I'm hoping to I've had a career. I mean, I did very well when I worked.
Okay, let's slow down a little bit more. You're still mental.
Yeah.
You're not tapped in, you're faking it. I'm going to spank you some more. Take a deep breath. Feel your fakeness towards yourself. Forget about the embarrassment. That's just a minor issue. It's really you not loving yourself consistently. Because for us, this is just 15 minutes of our time. For you, this is all the time, all your life, and your potential isn't fully allowed to come through because of this pattern, which is a choice. So bring attention to how you're fooling other people and you're fooling yourself. You're not getting to the point within what's crucial for you. Do you feel there's a running happening? There's like a little deceiver? Something that needs to hold on to certain descriptions in order to feel justified in why it's not completely coming undone within the soul? Does that make sense? Do you not have a desire to be more naked, more true, more deeply connected to yourself, all of yourself?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. And I'm beginning to realize that.
You're beginning to realize that you'd like to be more connected to yourself.
So that I'm becoming more connected. I am becoming more connected to myself.
Okay, good. Yeah. Why did you sign up for this course again? Do you remember the original inspiration?
Because it's my heart's desire, and that's all I really want to do in life is ultimately self-realize, because to get to be a helper, the light worker, do what I know I'm here to do. So this was a training course, and I assume it was my frequency that allowed me to get in. And I feel I've been trained.
So much of this comes down to self-esteem. And self-esteem is used in many different ways by different people. When I say it in this context of this conversation, self-esteem to me means, how do you think about yourself? How do you view yourself? How worthy do you deem yourself to be? Are you esteemed? What's your self-esteem like? And so much comes down to that, because if your self-esteem is low, you will not even believe that you're capable of the change you most desire. You will postpone, you will fill up that gap between where you are and where you want to be, or who you are and who you want to be, because that's always what it really is who you are or think you are, and who you want to be or who you truly are, beyond the self-esteem image you currently have. So with low self-esteem, it doesn't matter what you do, what courses you sign up for. By the end of the course, you'll have made some marginal changes, and not the change, because you always push it further away. And it totally comes through in the descriptions you use. Ultimately, self-realization. Just that word alone. And you use different things, different words that give away the fact that you already decided it's not going to happen now. In fact, that's your current decision, your current choice is that you're not worthy of it yet. And I got approved must have been because of my frequency. And ultimately, self-realization. As if you're sort of holding yourself an excuse for down the line in the future, taking away your responsibility to currently activate what it is you desire most. And if I have to give my best guess now, I'd say that comes back to self-esteem. Maybe your dad didn't give you enough attention or something, or one of your parents left you a little bit early on in life or something like that. Mm-hmm. Is any of that the case?
My dad was like a rageaholic, so it was very negative attention. You got triggered all the time. But it was never considered he had mental illness until I was well into my own research in my 30s. You know what I mean? This is how you grew up. So yeah, it was really ingrained.
So what's the biggest feeling you took away from your childhood in that negative way?
Scary.
Scary, okay.
Yeah,
scary.
It was a scary time. You know, it was unstable, it was mean, and it was stingy and whatever. Maybe that's just how my mind chose to remember.
Slow down, Susan.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, it was tough for a sensitive kid.
Susan, slow down. Slow down. I'm here.
Yeah, I went there. I went right back there, and I wasn't happy about it. So yeah, but I've done so much work on it.
Technically, from an objective point of view, most of the work you've been doing on it is figuring out as many ways as you can to postpone having to make the change. What is the change in this case is to see yourself differently, is to understand yourself differently, is to have a different self-esteem, different self-judgment, different image, different sense, different feeling of who you are, what you're worthy of, what you're capable of, why you're here, what you deserve, the whole package, all that combined, self-esteem. The true change you desire and that you are in need of, because it's the fuel for any other desire, whether it be self-realization or self-empowerment or being of service to others or whatever it is, mundane, everyday things, starting a business, being successful, whatever it is, you need to up your self-esteem. You need to change the way you look at yourself. You need to get rid of some of those old images. You need to replace them. You need to understand yourself differently. So when you think back at that time in your life where that self-esteem began to be formed, and you say this is a pattern since you were 2 years old, can you elaborate on that for a bit?
Well, you asked me when I made the decision, what this decision we're discussing. And I said, I guess when I was 2. Yeah, well, my mother said, I don't know why we're on this, but my mother said I was throwing tantrums. You would take me out. I think back to that, 2 years old, and I would throw myself in the gutter. We lived in Brooklyn and roll in dog shit. I must have been pretty pissed. But I think back, and I know that I heard that my father was hitting my sister in her crib. So when she was, 2 years old or something, that's what I was born into. She was 2 when I was born, 2 1/4. So he would come home and hit her. So I was, I don't know. So it was chaos, and it was a lot of bullshit, I'm sure. And I knew it. I knew it was bullshit. But I was overpowered. And then I have 2 sisters that are part of that family matrix. So I overpowered 4-1. What was normal, what was right, how it is. It's okay.
Okay.
Oh, I never thought it was okay. I really never did. So yeah, so I haven't, so I've been sensitive, and it just started way back when.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So,
fresh question. Thank you for that. Fresh question. What are you today, right now, as you consider yourself? What do you deserve? How much? Give it a number, give it an objective, give it a quality, give it a realization level. What
joy and peace and happiness, things like that.
You deserve joy. You deserve joy, peace, and happiness.
And belongingness and contribution.
Okay.
So I deserve that, but I haven't materialized it, all that.
So say to yourself right now, out loud, I deserve joy, and see how it feels. See if it feels true or not true. See if that feels 100%. Yeah, of course I deserve joy. It's natural. Naturally, I deserve joy.
You caught me. I deserve joy. No, it's fake.
Cool. So, and everyone can do this on the call because it's valuable. We all have fucked up childhoods, even if they were happy. Why? Because they're on Earth. And they're in a physical body. So you've all been fucked up. So I deserve joy.
It doesn't sound real already. No, it's not real.
Okay, so your self-esteem is below the level of joy. Okay, let's go to happiness. I deserve happiness. Naturally, of course I deserve happiness.
Yeah, I deserve happiness. That's easier.
Okay, what do you picture when you say happiness? And
happiness.
When you see yourself experiencing that and deserving that, what do you see?
I was outside and it was sunny and I was smiling. I think there were people around. But
okay, cool, fair enough. So happiness, simple, everyday happiness.
Yes.
Okay, good. You deserve that?
I do. I deserve happiness.
Hesitation usually means no, as Bashar says. Was there hesitation? Or no? Or do you deserve happiness, but not certain levels of happiness, maybe?
Right. There are levels.
There are levels that you do not deserve.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, where's that line, and how do you pinpoint what that line looks like? Till what level can you go in your visualization and feel completely 100% good about that? As if that belongs to you. Of course, that belongs to me. And then when you go above that, it starts to get a little cringy. It's a little bit like, nah, I can't do that. Or if I do that, I'll leave my family behind, or they'll think this, or that, whatever comes up. Where's that threshold? Can you define the line or the type of happiness where you still feel you deserve it? And can you define a type of happiness that you feel is out of your reach and does not belong to you? And this is all to pinpoint your self-esteem sense. I want you all to become aware of your self-esteem. If you're not aware of your self-esteem, you'll just think you're doing stuff and wanting stuff and are on your way. But if it's all inside the bubble of what you deserve and you are not aware of that bubble, you will not attain anything outside that bubble. You will always postpone. You'll do a little bit of practice here and there. But then when it gets really uncomfortable, because now you have to face the fact that you don't believe you're worthy of that which you're practicing towards, you'll come up with some kind of an excuse or catalyst that will distract you from it, et cetera, et cetera. So give me a type of happiness you deserve, and give me a type of happiness that makes you feel cringy, like you don't deserve it, like you can't have it. And this goes for everyone.
I can be, yeah.
So sun is shining, you're walking on the streets, you're smiling, you're happy. That's good, right?
I can be happy where I'm not extremely worried about finances, and I'm not worried about my health. And, you know, generally things are really very good for me but from a 1 to 10, what I know what humans are possible of happiness, I put it a number 4.
Okay, cool. That's great. Yeah, you can give a number to it, 1 to 10.
Yeah, like a 4.
Okay, great. Let's do this with everyone right now. So imagine happiness level 0 is neutral. So that's not, 0 does not mean depressed or negative states or pessimistic. 0 means neutral. You're just neutral. You're not happy. You're not excited about anything, but you're also not judging yourself or being negative. It's just an ordinary everyday day. It's neutral. It feels relatively calm. Whereas 10, happiness level, would be that would just the most ecstatic state you can imagine. Like complete total alignment. And it's not just happiness like, way! It's like a happiness that includes peace and bliss and contentment and wisdom and this buzzing like wholeness that just completion, right? Level 10. And just give it a number for yourselves. Like start going up. Okay, what could 1 look like? Of course, it's a totally subjective scale. That doesn't matter. It's just to give it some number for yourself. So level 1, I don't know what level 1 would look like. I'm not going to go through all the levels, but you can just visualize this. Make up your own sort of subjective scale between 0 and 10. And go up a little bit. I'm going to give you 15 seconds for each level or so. So imagine level 1 happiness, just slightly above neutrality. It's easy to make you laugh. If someone smiles at you, you easily smile back. There's no real absolute joy behind it, but it is like, yeah, okay, hey, nice. It's like nice. Level 1 is like nice. Oh, good, all right. You deserve that, right? Or maybe not. You know, if that's not what you deserve, then you should set your level at 0. You could do the reverse too. If you can't get to any of the levels, and you can play with the reverse and get really clear on that. But let's say everyone here deserves level 1. Then go up, level 2. Level 2 is the state where maybe you are able to smile on your own. Just something you see, like a flower, or just like, sunshine, nice. Nothing overly blissful, but it was a good day. You feel good, you feel good. Are you worthy of that? Do you deserve that? And if it's an absolute, of course, I have that all the day, all the time, or even if you don't have it all the time, but yeah, of course I deserve that. Then you move up, level 3. Level 3 is where you begin to smile, just like on a moment-to-moment basis almost. And there's challenges, and there's triggers, and you get serious sometimes. But overall, you would say, yeah, I feel good. I feel content. I feel happy. This was a fun day. And then level 4, maybe you can describe level 4, Susan, according to your subjective scale.
Well, level 4, that you can go where you want to, I'm not talking the airplane ride for me, but around town, like if you want to go out to lunch, or if you have a sense of freedom in your daily life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and you deserve that.
Yep.
Then I'd like you to describe level 5, the one that's slightly out of your league, that you're slightly unworthy of in your own thinking.
Yes, that would be with an overabundance of cash flow coming in, and some good friends on hand that you could hook up with spontaneously and have a good time with them. For what I consider a good time.
So social life, basically.
Yeah, that I appreciate and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Well, is that the reason maybe you haven't manifested that type of social life and freedom yet? because you believe you're not worthy of good friends.
Yes, I believe that's true.
Okay, sweet. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
So that's level 5. Level 6 would be whatever's beyond that. So you can play this for yourself and just give yourself a number. Just going to give you all a minute or so to just bump it up using your own subjective visualization. And notice where you start cringing. And even if you start cringing at level 4, continue the exercise. Go up to 6, see what happens. Imagine level 7, see what happens. See what emotions arise. See what old beliefs may suddenly show up in the scale. And keep going up, keep bumping up that brightness, that radiance. See yourself actually like radiating light at the higher levels, like 8 and up. Is you just radiating. It's no longer ordinary joy or happiness. It starts to become a true sort of spiritual realization quality that starts to radiate. 10 perhaps being absolutely blissful and at one with the I, where the individual starts to dissolve into the ocean of oneness and completion. Level 8 being like the higher self almost, like just radiant, just like beyond fears, beyond believing limiting thoughts, being fully empowered as an individual, knowing your path, feeling your path, being committed to your path with great joy, great radiance, and people noticing it around you, people being attracted to this confidence. Just radiant. 9 is super radiant. Nine is where you start to shift like towards God, like you can't really help but feel that pull towards disillusion. You're just so joyful that you can't contain it anymore inside of an individual. It's just got to be shared, and it's got to be pure, and it's got to merge with the ocean. This is really where the river starts to accelerate as it approaches the gravitational pull of the ocean, of completion, of unity. Where you're just so joyful, you no longer want and can't believe that it belongs to you as an individual. That's separate, like I exist inside of the lining of the outline of my skin just becomes a ridiculous notion. It feels like your soul just wants to swim beyond the confines of the thoughts that you assume are true for you. This is where you start to lose your sense of location, or your dependence on location and individuation and relationships no longer are the primary source of your happiness, nor is your confidence determined by your relationships anymore. It's now between you and God, no longer between you and the people. And 10 being like the completion of that, or near completion level of that, where you're truly unshakable and you cannot help but see the unified isness of all things. Zoom, 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 zoom. So just pick a number somewhere there where you started to feel a little cringy, like I don't deserve that. And what's possible too is that you do believe you deserve level 10, but you don't deserve level 5. You know, the mind works in strange ways. If you believe you deserve level 10, but not level 5, then what you'll see in your life is that you won't seek out a social life, you won't fulfill your purpose in life, but you'll just like stop, you'll meditate, and if you actually do practice that with full conviction and you believe you are worthy of that, you may attain very high states of bliss and consciousness. However, you will find in your social life that you get triggered, that you don't feel as fulfilled, because maybe there's some beliefs there regarding what you're worth in the eyes of others and how important that is, because daddy beat you up, or mommy was manipulative, or whatever it is. So just get clear on it, what it is for you, and see how that matches what you already know about yourself. Just the makeup of the not self, the makeup of the character that you've been born into, the jacket that you've been creating while you've been here, which again is not what you are, obviously. Happiness is being what you are. Not happiness is being what you're not. Okay, good. So then, now you're clearer, and you can do this in much more depth for yourself outside of the timing of the session, because I want to move on as well. But at least this gives you a little bit greater clarity on how you gauge yourself. This is your self-esteem. And this is like a veil. This is like a cloud that hangs, that distorts your consciousness, and that seems to contain your consciousness. And the more aware you are of this cloud operating in your life, deciding things for you, this is why you've given away your free will to concepts, to programming, to thought forms. So you've given your free will back to the matrix, or away to the matrix. And now it's making decisions for you all the time. How you feel, why you feel the way you feel, what you need to do to get out of it, and so many images. So many images. I don't know how much room we have up here, but somehow there's millions and millions of images. Absolutely destroying our happiness. And we're to blame. We're absolutely to blame. But that's a good thing. That's a positive thing. That's a self-loving choice. I am to blame for how much I allow myself to believe in the thoughts that I believe. I and I alone have the power to unbelieve the thoughts that come up on the screen of my consciousness. But I have to notice that those thoughts are coming up. Otherwise, they're controlling me. Free will starts and ends with free awareness. An awareness that's aware is free, or at least has the ability to choose to stay free. If there's no awareness, you have no choice. You do, you're choosing to be unconscious enough to let some imposter self program that's generated inside the matrix that only was added onto you after your birth, not a second sooner. And you're allowing that to control everything that you feel and think, and how you navigate in life, and how you think of yourself, and how you see yourself. That's self-hatred. You hate yourself. And I have a problem with that. Be aware of the cloud of your self-esteem. Where's the edge of it? Where's it blocking you? Maybe even what chakra, if you're sensitive to that. Because it will act like a roof that you cannot go beyond. It generates the illusion that you can go beyond that roof. You can glimpse, usually people will allow themselves to glimpse higher light, higher consciousness, higher truth of who they really are, to see themselves in a new light for a moment. They will allow themselves to glimpse, and usually this is the higher self intervening, saying, okay, in order to continue to have an appropriate course for this entity's life, I need to give it a glimpse outside of its own free will of what it believes it's worthy of receiving. And it's when people have spiritual awakenings that they can't reconjure up, and like they chase it for the rest of their life somehow, and they start developing complexes about that sometimes. But at least it opens the person up to not completely forget. But we're not looking for an experience. We're not looking for a glimpse. We're looking for gradual mastery or sudden mastery, but that's nothing to expect necessarily, although you could, if you really, 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 really wanted to, it's directly available to you and it can stay. So it is up to you. But what we're working on here is mastery. Mastery means I have the ability to decide what I am, who I am, what I identify with at any given moment, and there's nothing that stands in my way except for my own beliefs. When I spot a belief, I rest this awareness. This gives me the freedom to choose whether or not I want to continue to believe that thought. The higher my awareness and my concentration, the more clearly I can see if a thought is actually true or if it's an optional thought. If I have just marginal increase in awareness, then I become aware of the fact that I have these thoughts, but I haven't quite concentrated enough in awareness, in the isness of myself, to really feel that I have a choice, because the thought seems so convincing, right? The automatic state is you just automatically let that thought control your life and your thoughts and your feelings and your state of being and your decisions and how you consider yourself to be. The next stage up would be, okay, you're aware of the fact that it's doing that. Why? Because you don't feel good. That triggers an awareness. That's why the emotional guidance system is put in place, so that you always have your compass available. But your awareness hasn't been concentrated enough. Your will hasn't been harnessed yet, partly because you don't believe you're worthy of that power, or you're not deserving of that power, or you're not capable of that freedom. And so because it's a slight increase in awareness, because the negative emotion triggers you into an awareness of the fact that something is off, something's not working for you, but you don't have the concentration of will and faith required yet to unbelieve what you see. So then the job is to concentrate more on that awareness, on that freedom. Concentrate more on that free will, the capacity that you have to see, to know, to be, and to choose. And the more you fix yourself in that, the more easy it is, or appears to be, to not believe in the thoughts that come up on your screen randomly all day long, millions of times every day. Does this make sense so far, Susan?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. So see if you can begin to detect this cloudiness. Everyone has a cloudiness. Like I've mentioned this many times, it feels like people have a bubble, like a condom around their head that they can't quite go beyond. And they believe they're everything that happens inside the condom, inside the cloud, inside the bubble, however you want to visualize this. So one of the most helpful things for an entity is to become aware of their own cloud, their own unconscious, static, jittery. It's like a cloud with constant thunderstorms, which are the thoughts. It's just chaos. It's human stuff, man-made, made by hand. Quality thoughts, like this cigar, rolled by hand. But in this case, you don't want that. You don't want to identify with man-made thoughts. Why? Because they're not true, they're not original, and they're not true usually to the purpose of why you chose to be here. So now I'm going to ask you the next question, Susan specifically, but again, this applies to all you lovely shepherds. Dear friends, brothers and sisters, selves. I forgot the question. One second. Oh yeah. Well, I've asked you this before, but I'm gonna give you the luxury of asking you again. Why did you come here?
Oh, Oliver knew the question.
Nice, Oliver. Fuck yes.
I didn't know the question. Why did I come to this program? Or
No.
to Earth?
Earth. Why did you choose to come to Earth?
Mm. To help. So, right. So it's like a slingshot, you know, and mine was pulled back really far. I'm trying to go that way really far, but you know, just like taffy. What we're talking about, the family training ground. I mean, so yes, I have forgotten, I have abandoned myself was the words that came earlier. I came here to help, but somewhere along the line, I did abandon myself and lost faith. I really could. But I'm always drawn to it. I'm just always drawn to these teachings. And
Well, not enough, because the calling work is specifically designed to make you remember why you are here, to help. But somehow you avoided that. What's that about? Why did your unconscious mind, whose only purpose is to sustain itself, because it's based on the first chakra of response, which lingers into the second and third, it takes on a social form, but it's all about survival. It's all about security and safety and survival, whether it's physical survival, emotional survival, or social survival. So why did you, out of that motivational principle of the imposter mind being rooted in the lowest three chakra points, why did you unconsciously choose, or subconsciously choose, or semi-consciously choose to not fully engage with the calling work? What was the excuse or the reason that came up for you?
I remember I had one. I remember it was my usual, but then I had one developed. Like maybe I was busy. I don't know. I think it's I know it's shit anyway. I wish I could remember. I do remember having some little hook, but right now I don't remember what that was because I swept it under the rug that I was going to get by without it, I guess. So I don't know.
I'm going to jump in, Susan. This is just driving me nuts. You're not, when you look down like that and when you, your body expression, if you could just sit up straight and look him in the eyes and breathe in and out equally, you will clear this. Receive him. You're not even letting him in. You're not answering the question because you're in first three chakras right now. So if you could just go back a little bit further and sit up straight and just breathe evenly in and out, you'll go into theta wave where you can answer these questions. But when you're down here and contracted and being small, you can't. So just elevate, open up. Just really open and receive him. He's a frequency of a freaking 1,000, okay? He can help all of us. If we just love her and all center, we can help clear this and she can get centered. She'll see what's going on here and clear it once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, yes, it is clear that Susan is still avoiding. Do you sense that? You're using your regular thought patterns to avoid having to stop. So now you're thinking about what I'm saying and you're strategizing and concluding about what I'm saying. So it feels and looks like you're participating in the conversation. But what Kathy points out is accurate as far as I understood what she said. And that is, you're still using the same brainwaves. You're still using the similar patterns. So those patterns is the same not self. It's the same filter. It's the same cloud. But now it's changing the contents. The imposter self can thrive in all kinds of contents. Doesn't matter. It can change to talking about its own death. And it can be very adequate. It can be very eloquent. It can be very in control of its own death. Right? So, but that's not the same as stopping. It's not the same as slowing down and reconnecting and truly letting something new flow in. I recommend you all read the first 4 or so chapters of the book, The Direct Means to Eternal Bliss by Michael Langford. He does a great job at making you very aware of the imposter self, the tricks and the strategies of the imposter mind. it really helps to be able to see those in yourself when they're operational. So you can relax out of them. You can unbelieve them. You can have a choice. Okay, for this moment, I'm just gonna leave it at this and move on to open it up to a different line of questioning, perhaps. Thank you, Susan. Do not feel embarrassed, but do feel inspired. Go back to the calling work, read the first few chapters of the direct means. Those are suggestions. You don't have to take them, obviously. Those are my suggestions. So with that, do as you please.
Thank you.
But what I want you to take away from this is that, in my opinion, you deserve much, much, much better from yourself. You're much more loved and lovable and deserving than you can ever comprehend. And I think it's time for you to move that letter up by 2 or 3 numbers at least. Just because you're worth it. Just because you'll stop hurting the universe to the extent that you do. Calling work is going to help you remember why you are here. The problem a lot of us adopt at an early age is making it about ourselves. Why? Because everyone else does that. So you come in with the intention to be of service, to be a bright light for this world. And it's not that you're not, because no matter how veiled you are, by the very nature of incarnation, you help out, you help uplift. Even if you're all the way depressed about yourself, your soul, the fact that it's been allowed through the veil to incarnate, still uplifts the planetary vibration. So you always do your job for as long as you're alive, no matter how you feel about yourself. That's also very important to understand. Now, however, can you accentuate that? Can you emphasize that radiance? Can you make it more active and more enjoyable for you? Absolutely. And you deserve that. Absolutely deserve that. Can you reach more people in a way that they can consciously also understand, other than just subliminally, so that they can accelerate their journey? Absolutely. Now that's up to you, sifting out what's not self from what is original to you, what is true to you, right? So, but you got to really see how you're sabotaging your own journey, your own process, your own expansion. Become really aware of that. Engage with the calling work, maybe the 40-day redesign, or the few sessions that we did with Anurag here, or all of them. But actually practice, do the work for a few weeks in a row. And go through the list of your life. What do you need to eliminate? What do you need to alter? And what do you need to create that's not there yet in terms of architecture and environment that will bring out that next level you? Maybe that is go live somewhere else where you have friends around that you actually appreciate, actually have a certain level of consciousness. Just one example. It could be many things, right? But that's up to you to figure out. You know your life best. You know the circumstances and the present architecture. So change that according to your calling once you're clear on what your calling is. And then things are going to go infinitely faster for you, more smooth. And your self-esteem is going to go way up. Because as soon as you remember that while you're here is to help, not to secure, maintain, and make everything private and then instantly your levels go up. Instantly. Because it's true. You came here to help. You didn't come here to accumulate and secure and think negatively about yourself or in limiting ways. None of these human ideas have to belong to you at all. No human idea has to belong to you. Even the human idea that you're a human being doesn't have to apply to you. That's a human idea too. The idea that we are human was made by humans. I've never heard a tree call me a human. I've never heard God call me human. I've only heard the critical mainstream people call me human. And emphasize that that's what we need to be. And even some of the spiritual people, like we gotta be human. Well, yeah, you could try that. I don't know. I don't think it's worked for us very well. But then again, not a lot of people or teachers desire freedom. They desire socially acceptable practices and standards. And then you got to cater to the human concept. But you don't have to, not for yourself. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sweet. Who else would like to engage with this form? I'm quite friendly in person, by the way. Quite gentle. In case you guys don't want to gather anymore.
What did you say? Could you repeat that? I didn't get that.
Sorry? Who was this?
This is Kathy. What did you just say about the sound didn't come in?
Yeah, I think your connection is a little weak right now because I'm not hearing you very clearly.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I said. I said, oh yeah, I said I'm quite friendly in person. I think, anyway, I think.
Can I say something? Can you hear me at all though?
I can right now, yes. Go ahead.
Okay. I just you say you're friendly, and I absolutely love you. But when I raise my hand when nobody raises their hand, and I don't want your time, my joy is to engage you. And so if no one's going to raise their hand, I'm going to fucking raise my hand. And then you give me these little flights, and I mean, you can if you want, but I just wish you'd stop. You know, like even when I just talked to you right now, you say you diss me. It's like, well, if I can understand what you just said, you know, or like Kathy's raising her hand, and I just don't understand. I mean, I understood before I needed that, but I don't anymore. I love you, and you're God, and I'm God, and we're God, and I just like to, if there's something there, I'd like to clear it. I don't know if it's past life, but I just respect you so much, and I need to speak up. I need to say that. So I love you.
Sweet, I appreciate that.
And if anybody's stuck like she is, I mean, this is my specialty. I mean, we got to get through this shit, you guys. I can help you with where you're at, where your frequency is, how to get into theta, why you're here. I can teach you how to drive in delta. I mean, we got this. I mean, this is what we're here for. And if anyone hasn't caught it, I'm still here to serve you. And I'm going to Awesome next week. I invite anybody to fucking come. I mean, he's been in darkness for how long? He's got it. You can get it just by being his energy field. And we're here to shift the planet and wake it up. And I encourage every one of us to get over there. I just got a ticket yesterday, and actually my whole schedule just cleared up. So it's like, we're not going to friggin', I mean, we're not going to India because half the people didn't want to go. I mean, we're not going in this program because it's ended. People aren't showing up. So I'm showing up. I'm going to be there next week. And anybody, I'm also developing programs. And if anyone can get there, I'd love to meet with you. I'm actually going to call everybody personally, see what we can create. And I don't have a question for the group because I understand how to heal, but it seems like we're still stuck and don't believe that we're God yet. And I was going to have you talk about that. But as long as there's people asking questions, let's address that. But
Kathy,
for the group, the people that I'm working with that still feel, yeah.
Kathy,
Yeah.
do you see why I dissed you now? Or no? Do you see why I stopped you? You call it dissing. I call it putting a wall up.
Well, I'm a little bit, like, how do I, there's a little bit of fear to address you and sadness and grief.
Okay.
So you're feeling that. Yeah.
That's okay. But I'm saying, like, you're a little much, right? From a balance point of view, you're just a little much, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's an indication of an imbalance that's personal. And we're talking about a group space. I'm hearing a slide down.
Yeah, but yeah, for me though, if you would stop dissing me, feel a little bit more welcome. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. And it never works. It never works that way. I can tell you that right now.
I know,
Kenza,
but I'm still expressing it.
Kenza, can you mute yourself just in case it's you that's causing the echo? I can't seem to mute you for some reason.
I'll reframe that.
Okay, this is good.
Thank you.
Kathy, stop, please. Stop. Okay? I'm not dissing you. You're dissing you. I'm just responding to your vibration. Now, appreciate the passion. And that passion is moving through pathways that are not completely balanced yet. It doesn't have to be completely balanced. But when you're talking about either my personal space, let's say at a retreat or something where you approach me, or if you're talking about a group setting where there's 50 other people that are giving up their time and energy and also here, you're simply not balanced enough yet to be center stage as much as you are eager to be. So that's the wall that you sense.
Well, I have not wanted to be, I have not been ready to be center stage. So that is not,
well,
that's
no, that's just something you're not recognizing about yourself. But you can ask others. I mean, that's my sense, right? So
I think it's accurate, but I'm agreeing with you. I have not been balanced enough. I have been working and clearing chakras, absolutely, earnestly. I have not been ready to be center stage at all. Okay, and I keep thinking, I think I am, and I never have. I've been working at, just clearing the density. We're very large.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a lot. I mean, galactic. I've had. We are very big, and so it's taken a while. But now I've gotten back far enough that I have never wanted to be front center. Otherwise, I would be.
That's not true. It's not true that you haven't been wanting to be visible, so to speak.
I'm willing to offer what I've already learned, but I was not at a level of understanding the absolute to the point where I felt I could be front and center. So I'm.
Yeah, and you still are.
I still am.
In my opinion, you're not ready to take as much center stage as you do. And that's the reason why I mentioned that you always have a question, is because generally you do have something to say. And that's.
Well, my question, I hear you, but and I did, and I agree with you, and that's why I'm asking the question. That's why you're my teacher. That's why I'm on this call. That's what I'm saying is, like, if I'm going to ask.
I'm gonna cut this off right now.
That's right? Good. I get it. I don't even know why I'm doing it, and I agree with you. So I just agree with you.
That's
I agree that you see it.
Yeah, and you should. That's entirely up to you. I don't need you to agree with me. I'm just owning the space of this program, and I'm owning the space of what I feel is genuine and authentic. You don't have to agree with it. And I think that this process that you engage here will have an effect on you beyond this call. And I'm sure you'll learn a lot from that. But right now, I want to continue with this call because it doesn't feel balanced to me and it feels personal to me. And it's something for you to work through. I don't care how often you think you have already had broccoli. You gotta continue to eat the broccoli. Your thoughts about yourself are not yet fully saturated with awareness. There is ego operating. There's the imposter self operating. There's chaotic mind operating. There is an unbounded energy that's chaotic, that's not balanced, that's operating. Okay, I can't have you always spew that onto the table where everyone else is sitting, where I'm responsible for that table. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that's nothing to do with my love for you. That's just me performing my role, my function. Once you see that that's not a personal thing, that I love you as much as I love anyone else on this call, then maybe you'd find more peace with that and you'd be able to work with that a little bit more efficiently. I love you as much as I love anyone else that's present here. Do you believe that?
Yes.
That's good. I hope you do. So this is the service dialogue that's occurring because of the energies that are happening and the response. So this is my response. And this is what's authentic for me, being in my position, being in my role. Is it comfortable for me? No, not always. but that comes with the package, that comes with the role, right? And I'd much rather stand true in that, even if you don't see it that way, or even if you don't believe that's accurate right now. But I'm just gonna stop it here. I appreciate the intention that you have to get clear on this. That's how I interpret this passionate outburst, is you want to see clearly what's true and what's not about this whole dynamic. And when you do, I guarantee you, our interactions will go way more smoothly. So for now, I'll just sign off and say that I love you just as much as anyone else on this call. In fact, I can only love you as much as I love myself. And I love myself quite a bit.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Also, there's a distinction. I kind of made it already. I want to just make this a little clearer also to everyone here, is the passion that you have to get beyond certain blockages and to make things, not public, but like express them, make them transparent and get over them or transmute them together or as individuals. That passion is great. I think that says a lot about where you're coming from. However, the way it's filtered is chaotic and there's imbalances and it makes it more personal than it needs to be. That's why they are often outbursts that come across as a chaotic, energetic transmission. That's not that pleasant for the listener, to be honest, at least me as a listener. Maybe someone else just fucking soaks it up and goes like, wait, yes, let's do this. And you can ask others for feedback. You can ask others in the Facebook group, say, what's your feeling about what I shared and generally what I share, when I share, what's your feeling? And just get that feedback and see what you're not seeing about yourself. Yeah, so that would just be my tip, like ask others as well, because this is not between you and I, and this is where I'm gonna leave it. Okay, thank you. Kenza, did you have a question or were you just accidentally unmuted? Okay. So then, who's next?
I have a question.
Who's speaking? Sorry, there's like multiple pages now.
Me, Monica.
Did you say me? That's very helpful. The list of names. Me.
Me,
Oh, there you
Monica.
go. I got you. Hello, Monica.
Hi.
I see you. You're next to Enrique. That's cool.
Yes, we are here in Colombia, Bogotá.
Sweet.
Do you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm just going to give me a little time. Just want to take a little time to drop into what I want to question or.
Yeah, how long do you need? Because you can do that when you're not raising your hand.
Just a moment.
What's the moment in your terminology?
Maybe less than a minute.
Okay, that's fine. Then I'll light my cigar.
So maybe I want you to help me to lately I've been amping up more and more the desire to to self-realize.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, deepening more into the meditation, what is happening is that I just sense, in a sense, a big let go of the same way I've been experiencing myself in, like, maybe I'm just trying to find a way to speak about this, kind of the self-realization and self-actualization. Like whether before it was like more oriented into the self-actualization and how, manifesting. And I think that the calling is more connected with that. And the more I'm deepening into the self-realization, it's like this desire of really letting go the way of like, you know, understanding that I just don't want to, I can't operate in the world like doing, like in from that self sense of the doer, I'm doing, I need to do, and then, but at the same time, this let go, sometimes I feel like I just don't want to do anything. And my thinking is like, I don't know if it's like kind of, how to say, it's maybe a trap where I don't see clearly if it's a kind of a sense of lack of motivation, or it's just really at this let go that I just don't want anything of anything. And at the same time, there is the calling that I've been working on it that is also so clear to me. And I feel like I even don't have the clear question, but I feel that in my life right now, I am in the middle of like a huge kind of transition, crossroads, and sometimes I feel like lost, but there is this little big sense of like letting go, even of the desires. And so I just wanted you to tune in with me, because maybe I'm not so clear where I am at, and just wanted to share this.
Okay, thank you. What do you want the most? This usually solves our questions, especially when they're unclear. What do you want the most? Not what do you want, but what do you want the most?
Self-realize, really,
Okay.
really.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I'm not.
Okay, so then let me pause you for a second. So if what do you say to self-realize? And then I ask you, does that solve the question for you? Does that answer the question? And you say yes and no. For me, what this indicates is that you have conflicting desires, or seemingly conflicting desires. Maybe they're not conflicting, but the way your mind defines them and interprets them and thinks about them can cause this seeming separation, right? Between two movements, two flows that seem to contradict each other on a surface level. Usually that's not the case. Usually we only want one thing that has many expressions, right? So what's important to see about your answer there, I just want to bring you back to that moment when I asked you, what do you want the most? And I'm just going to go through that process again with you. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you want the most? If you only had to pick one thing.
To reach the absolute.
To reach the absolute. Okay. So
to experience that what I am in, but really, you know, like how you say, once you are there, you know it's unshakable, and it will transform your life. And it's like that thing that I want to be there, you know. So
do you want to transform your life, or do you want to be unshakable, or do you want to know yourself as the absolute?
Know myself as the absolute.
As a way to transform your life, or is that redundant, the transforming your life?
No, not really as a way to transform my life.
Oh, okay. So what you really want the most is to know yourself as the absolute.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that a genuine desire for you? Or is that because of a concept you picked up from one of my teachings?
It's a genuine desire.
Okay, so you feel the pull, you feel that flow, you feel that magnetic force of that absolute sense of the absolute sort of sucking you in, like calling you forth, calling you into it.
Yeah.
Okay, great, wonderful. So then my next question was, does that answer your question or your predicament, the confusion? And then you said, yes. And I want you to be really slowed down when you go through this process again. I want you to really be able to pick apart your process here. Then you answered yes and no. or yes, but also no. So before you respond to this, just stay tuned into that, where you came from when you said yes, but no. That indicates to me, and you can correct me in a little bit, not right now, you can correct me in a little bit if you want. That indicates to me what I would call a mixed frequency or a mixed definition, some kind of a confused pattern of definitions that you have that wants to get clear and aligned to its true desire. So you say your true desire is to know the absolute. And so it answers your question, yes, but also no, because you still have those definitions about other things or what it looks like or how it's contradictory. So there's a contradictory movement, right?
Yeah. You're right when you said that maybe they are like kind of like conflicting desires. I don't know how you named that, but it was just like a feeling that something is still wanting to, you know, when I see my calling or why I am here for, there is still the desire to experience and to accomplish things through that and manifesting in this. And so apparently these things are opposite, you know, they are like, you know, at some point it's just I want to let go and I only want to focus and then.
So maybe you have a definition, maybe you have an understanding or a belief that thinks that if you were to completely surrender, that would mean that those things that are germane, that are natural to your blueprint, to your desire for being here, that these would not be fulfilled naturally.
Well, what I am like seeing is like I don't feel the motivation to do or to, I mean, it's not true because every day I find a way to motivate and to be connected to this world, you see.
Can I ask you,
but
let me ask you another question. How would you answer your own question right now? How would you answer yourself?
How much?
How would you answer yourself if you were me? What would your best, deepest, wisest answer to yourself be?
I would say that if you really follow your true desire, no matter what, if you really follow that to your desire and your passion, that will solve even your question and your apparent disalignment.
Great. Does that answer your question? Or does it, but you don't believe it because you said it? Oftentimes.
Maybe because at a certain point, I don't believe that I'm able to reach that, to desire, to really reach the absolute or come to that desire. There is something still there. It's like, I remember that at the beginning of this program, and I ask you, and then you tell me you change or you don't. And so at a certain point, there is this, like, I feel that, that there is still the there is still in me trying to get to some place, maybe. There is still that kind of like feeling this gap in like, I'm not.
Now the question is, does that trying come from a true desire, or does it come from a definition in lack? I believe that something will not fulfill itself.
Yeah, maybe that's it, that there is something that is in the mix and that I'm still holding some.
Yeah. So you're not trusting the whole. You're not trusting the absolute. You're not trusting the universe. You're not trusting the intelligence that operates everything, correct? And then you feel the pain of having to do it yourself because you believe the universe won't do it on its own. And that if you go and focus on what you truly desire, then the universe won't take care of those other desires. Do you have such a definition or such an understanding or fear?
Can you repeat it again?
Sure, that's my job. Do you have a belief or definition that if you surrender, basically, if you give all of yourself to the highest desire that you have, and this goes for everyone, whatever that might be for you, do you have an idea, a fear-based belief, a belief that causes a feeling of the emotional guidance system that points you to the fact that that belief's not true, which causes stress and anxiety and questions and confusion, around the belief that if you give all of yourself to that which you want the most, then life will not be taken care of, or those desires or manifestations or service to others or projects will not happen? Do you have a belief that suggests that you're not absolutely certain that life will be taken care of?
You know, now that you are asking me, I feel that there is something in me that is still cut in that sense of like, I don't know if it comes from a point of not deserving, and it's connected, of course, of that belief. But now that you are asking me, I realize that, of course, I feel, I trust, and yet there is still that. It's like a stain there. So can you just turn in with me and just feel?
Are you questioning my ways?
No, I'm just asking you to help me because I feel that there is still a belief, not questioning. I'm actually, when you ask me, I can sense that I'm still holding a lack.
Yes.
There is something in me that's still holding that.
And that's what I'm currently attempting you to show yourself.
Yeah.
So I am tuned into you. That's why I'm talking with you.
Okay, yeah.
So what belief do you have that contradicts the understanding that when you surrender all of yourself to all of yourself, that life will be taken care of much more beautifully than you ever could as a separate individual doer? What do you believe that indicates that you have to control something in your life in order to make it happen? Which is a limiting, lack-based, very physical, Newtonian way of thinking. Would you agree? It's not a universal way of flowing. It's not a universal way of trusting. It's trusting in lack versus trusting in trust.
Totally.
So if you can sense that in yourself and begin to identify that idea that you picked up along the way, that definition, then you can transcend it. If you're not aware of it, then it's very difficult to transcend it. And you know, go ahead.
I sense it.
Okay, that's good. That's the first step. You begin to sense this sort of cloud, this cloudy, confused, limited. Yeah, okay, great. So that's doubt. It's doubt in self, ultimately.
Contracted and like that.
Okay, so what's causing that is an idea. It's a perspective that you have. You have learned to perceive, or in other words, look at life through a certain understanding, a paradigm, a belief, a contextual idea, an idea. And because you're because you're projecting your consciousness through that image, the movie is going to look that way. Right? Like the projector light in the theater. It goes through the little slide, and depending on what's on that slide, on that filter, on that belief, on that perspective, on that understanding, you're going to see that as your life. And that includes your feeling state. It includes the thoughts you ask of yourself, or the questions you ask, and the confusions you feel, and the predicaments, and how you keep yourself stuck and contracted. That's all the visible manifestation of the less visible, but visible, if you pay attention, thought form that causes that. So you got to take your awareness to a subtler level, and it usually starts with sort of sensing the sensation, becoming aware of a cloudiness around an energy center, around your head, or just around in your field. I'm sorry, is the smoke bothering you? I'll blow it the other way. Or is it the smokiness of your confusion arising? At least it's coming loose, it's rising in the chakras, it's being expressed. So you sense that filter, right? You sense the contraction, you sense the pain that you're causing yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Because you've invested your power to trust, your power of belief, which is ever active. You're always believing in something. That's why it's so important what you put your attention on, because for us, usually what we put our attention on, we believe automatically. We're not masters yet in most cases. So we can't look at something and not believe something about that something. Eventually you can. Eventually it doesn't matter what you look at. You're free from believing in anything. But until that mastery has been attained, you got to be careful what you're looking at as well as how you're looking at it. Because if you keep looking at the same things, you'll keep looking at it through the same filter. Looking at something else or looking within will allow you to shift away from that focal point and from a deeper, newer space of awareness, greater free will, greater choice, greater awareness, greater consciousness, greater aliveness, deeper sense of your true self coming forth. From that space, you can look back at that topic and see the beliefs you have around it. And then you can transcend it. And usually when you're in an interactive flow with yourself, the way you feel that is like an energy blockage or a cloudiness or a ceiling above your head or something along those lines. Usually has sort of a metaphysical, symbolic sensation to it or image or both. So if you can locate that, that's good. That's enough for now. That's a good beginning. So can you locate that sense? Can you feel the cloudiness that keeps Monica trapped inside a smaller world view than she's capable of? Awesome. Keep being aware of that. Keep being aware of that, like an investigator, like an archaeologist, like a biologist, like someone who's studying life. But keep looking at it. Be so curious what it's made of. Where are its edges? Where's the edge of that cloudiness or that contraction? How big is it? What shape does it have? Where does it come from? Just really become aware of the sense of it. Where does it originate from? When did I first start to generate this trust in lack?
Yeah, I see myself.
Okay. What's yourself?
Well, I see, I'm very small, I'm a child. I see an image.
Okay, great. So what happened in that moment? What did you start to perceive? How did you start to have a perspective about what? About yourself?
Okay. I see a child that is saying it's about not feeling that I deserve. It's about the feeling that I am I'm not a good person.
Okay.
It's about a feeling that is like maybe connected to a feeling of being, and then an affirmation that I will not get. It's like a punishment, a self-infringed punishment.
Yes.
And I just see that moment.
Beautiful. And that's good. Now you're at the root of the projection. You're at the cause of it. That's what you want to do. Because if you don't go there, you will never be able to release it fully. I mean, there's other ways to release it and whatever, but this is the quickest, most reliable, everyday way to release those kinds of ideas, is to go to the root assumption that you developed that formed this perspective in you that you're still pouring your trust and your consciousness into. So just to be aware of it though, what already changes for you? You feel space from it already a little bit more?
Yeah, I totally space. I just feel more compassionate toward myself.
Beautiful. So as Ra says, the first step of the adept is to know itself. Knowing itself means, in this case, know that you believe, you have a perspective that you're not worthy or that you are not a good person, etc. That's the knowledge, self-knowledge part. It's really knowledge of not self, right? It's knowledge of the not self that is kind of like the shell that you project yourself through, the filter. So it's not really know yourself, it's more like know your not self. And then once you know that part of your not self, it is important to know it though, even though it's your not self, then the acceptance already begins because there's more space from it now. There's an understanding that begins to come from a deeper space, from behind the veil. And that's when you feel the compassion, the relaxation, the contraction starts to slow down or like open up, rebalance itself just by being aware of it. That's the power of, that's the naturally, innately healing power of awareness. Just know it, become aware of it, in other words, become aware of the not self nod, the not that you have, the belief, the perspective, the focal point, become aware of it, and then accept it. You don't even have to do too much work with it. You could. Some people are more inclined to do work with it. I've done a lot of work with it. That's just something that comes, that I've trained, and it comes quite naturally to me. But for some people, it's just a matter of accepting it, of just being present with it. Find what sort of balance between an inquiry process, like, oh, why do I believe this? And what do I believe is true? And is that actually true? You could do that. You could do the investigation, inquiry process, or you could just let it be, take as much space from it and around it as you can, and completely accept it. And then you will find the understanding dawns naturally. Understanding the knots of the not self leads to acceptance, and acceptance of the knots of the not self leads to understanding. So whatever approach is more accessible to you, and it'll be different in different moods and with different issues or perspectives, and then you find yourself relaxing, and that's transcendence right there. Because now you begin to identify with something larger. You begin to remember that you're not limited. You're not confined inside of that cloud. This is why slowing down and becoming aware of what's actually happening through the not self, what you're actually putting all your trust in, is so important. That's self-love. And then the third step is become the creator, which will naturally rise. Self-realization, you could call it that too. You feel better?
Yeah, I do feel better.
That's good.
What you say is like not so much enter into a process, but space.
Yes.
Just feel that.
We're all the same. Slightly different contents, slightly different way we color in the picture, but the lines are pretty much the same. It's the same picture for everybody.
And you know, you remind me in the academy, there is an exercise that you really pointed at. And I think I did it several times in the past, where you say you can change the past. And somehow I kind of experienced something like when you say, okay, you can connect with that sense of expansiveness because you are not that thought. And
Mm-hmm.
then and the exercise is the same. It's like just you go to the a moment in your past and you bring yourself to that self moment, but from a different perspective. And by doing that, you are changing your past. And it just came to me, but in a more vivid way. Like I just experienced that. I feel that I just changed the past, you know, and then you just get free from that past. You know, it doesn't rule you anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You deserve freedom.
Yeah, I deserve freedom. I deserve freedom.
That's
I'm
right.
free. I'm free.
You are free. That's right. There's only self-hate and self-love, which equals love for the universe or God, or hate for the universe or God. Because you are God. God is you, pretending to be you for a while. And you believe it. And you develop an additional sense of self. When God blends with the world, it turns into your sense of self. When it sees through that, it merges its sense of self back into its original sense of self, being God. There is not really a you apart from God. It is God that's playing this game, forgetting itself, if you will, and then feeling like this is what it is, defined by certain terms and location and all that. But if you look at it, if you investigate it, it's like the thread, the single thread that makes up your entire piece of clothing. If it's fringing somewhere and you just follow it, you just, whatever you call that, you just pull the thread out, you see the whole shirt that has a form and a shape comes loose, and it's just the one thread. You just dismantle your idea of being separate and a personal individual. And when you look into it, you discover that there's nothing there but God. Everything else is an assumption. It's just additional ideas. You got what you need?
Sorry?
Did you get what you needed?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And you.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, Enrique. Have fun, guys. I'm sure you're up to no good. All right. Mm-hmm.
Bentinho.
Yes,
It's Flavio.
I know.
It's just sharing. It's just actually a quick share and maybe like a one question.
Sure.
I haven't been. It feels like recently I've lost like a sense of me or being me. By me meaning like the sense of individual, and it just feels sort of empty. And I'm just not able to track down that sense of a person somehow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of it's very freeing, and it's been really hard to identify with stuff. It's kind of
Don't try.
Don't try, yeah. And some days it just feels like really free. It's almost like there's a sense there's no one, and it's like self-sufficient kind of thing. It's just like oof, and nothing needs to be done kind of stuff.
Good. Anything that feels really free is in alignment.
Alignment?
Yeah, everything that feels, any state that feels truly free, not just pleasurable or this or that or oppositional or an escape, but truly, truly free, groundedly free, even if it's without a ground somewhere, but free in a grounded way, free in like a whole way. Anything that makes you feel more of that, experience more of that freedom, means that your thought processes or your practices or how you've used your focus has been in alignment. That's good.
Yeah, it's been really good. And then all that seeking energy too, that sometimes you feel the pull of seeking stuff, it's also diminished.
Yeah, absolutely, because seeking happens from first perceiving there to be a separation or a location from where to seek.
Right. Then from that point of view, sometimes like a sense there's no one, and there's never been one there to testify anything.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like crazy, or that's kind of seems to be how it is?
It depends on who you ask.
Well, asking you.
I don't think it's crazy, no.
Right. It just feels like a clear sense that it has never been anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nowhere to go kind of a thing.
Yep. And what's important is to not land on that as a conclusion in the mind, but to keep it an open experience. Otherwise, that can form a trap or like a sort of a static world image. And now you start relating from that world image, almost like a nihilist or a pessimist or an Advaita Vedanta or a Neo-Advaita Vedantist. It's like a fanatic about it or something. There's a lot of people going around like, oh, there's nobody here because they saw it once or they had an experience of expansion in that way, and they saw through the illusion of the individual self. Or worse, they've only heard about it, but they just adopted it as a concept. But that's not the case for you because you're starting to experience it. That's great. But then because they don't continue to rest in that empty, open freedom, but their mind sort of comes back in and tries to make sense of what's happening too much. And then they start applying like, oh, there's nobody here. Oh, there never has been anybody here, which is good initially as sort of like, oh my God, that's an insight. So the thought, there's never been anyone here, is a counter thought to having believed for so long that there is somebody here. So initially it's a balancing insight realization. But then what you want to do is you want to stay true and present to that experience itself. Just allow it to naturally be as it is, not coming to conclusions about it, not even spiritual conclusions or philosophical conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Just as little as you can. And if you do it only for the purpose to be able to translate it into teaching for others. But you don't need that. If you're in the experience of freedom, you don't need to figure out what it is. You don't need to start calling it things, because then it's very tempting to over time begin to relate to the concept of it and forget the naturalness of it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't define it too much. Just
right.
enjoy it. Basically, fall in love with it.
Yeah, it's very much, and it is also possible to happen. I'm gonna call it a state, right? Or this like experience to have, let's say, unresolved themes on a chakra or like a particular theme in life. At the same time, you are experiencing that level of freedom.
Yes, those blockages or processes have been created by the assumption that there was somebody there separate from life. Now that you're seeing or coming from a vantage point of seeing that you haven't really existed separate from life, now these things will come up and unfold themselves. So yes, it happens simultaneously, but it is actually life itself unfolding the process that it generated out of a delusional state. So don't start doing that work so much as if you are, again, that separate person. Allow it to unfold, and that freedom will naturally, the quickest, healthiest possible way, balance it for the aspect of the painting that you have previously called you. That's naturally the energy finding its health back, so to speak, its alignment back. And that might be a process, but it doesn't have to be a process that you identify as yourself. Doesn't mean you push it away. It's just allowed to be there, but you're not re-identifying with it just because it seems to be of a personal tone. When we wake up to the impersonal freedom of life itself, then it's valuable to stay there as much as we can and allow the personal remnants or echoes to clear themselves. It can take many years, different stages and phases and what have you. But this still doesn't mean that you're back into a separate state. You can allow them to come up, and they might feel personal, right? They might feel like they belong to you as a person again, but they're just echoes. They're just remnants. They're echoes from the delusional state. So the best way to approach them is from the non-delusional state as much as you can, which means just wide open allowance, acceptance. Then they will find their own freedom.
Wow, that was like $1 million sentence.
Well, I'll send you the address for the checkbook.
And also in that note is when it comes, just as you mentioned, when this kind of tensions come, and it looks like the person is real again, this time it's almost like I can see the very edge of the bubble and say, it's almost like I can sense the cloudiness. I don't know exactly what do I need to address from that point of view yet, but it's a little easier to sense the edges of a bubble appearing.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah, you feel much lighter than you've had on any of the previous sessions, for sure. So great job, my friend.
Cool, thanks.
I'm glad that you lovingly made a fool out of yourself willingly for the purpose of all of us. The last time, at least that's what you felt. I didn't think that was what you were doing, but as a catalyst for wonderful. Thank you. Blessings, joy, happiness. Okay, well, this was an interesting session. Nice. That's what happens when I leave you guys alone too long. Just kidding. Of course, that's not true. It's what happens, though, if you don't stay on top of yourself. If you don't innately desire to continue to look at previous sessions, and at least once a week, you should watch a session, whether it's of me or someone else that's truly in alignment. If you don't do that, you gotta just let the whole personality come back in and take over until you reach such a point where your free will is so disciplined. But it's okay to admit that that's not the case. You've been raised by the most chaotic, undisciplined children in the universe. They call themselves humans. And you've been born into that crazy free-range chicken barn. That's all that you've been taught. You don't. So you need to access content of clarity, streams of clarity, however you find that. If that's by being in nature, becoming quiet, listening to a guided meditation, watching a video, going back to one of the sessions, reading a book. I don't care how you do it. I don't care who you watch, but make sure that you do that. If you don't, I guarantee you that which you have been programmed with will take over again. You got to continue the momentum, even on your off days. Don't judge yourself. It doesn't have to always feel pleasant. Still expose yourself to a stream of clarity. I'd say on a daily basis, but if you don't do it profoundly enough once a week, I have no hope for you, because that's how the mechanism works. So that's up to you. That's your responsibility. That's how much you care about yourself. Do you care enough about yourself to stop yourself for 2 hours a week, at least, and watch a session, full-length session? Or read for 2 hours straight out of direct means to eternal bliss, or whatever it is that makes you feel connected. Doesn't have to be that book. Doesn't have to be what I just said. It's just an example. You know what lights you up the most, makes you the clearest. Law of one, for some people, has an uncanny ability to provide you with a context that is absolutely human transcending. It makes you feel reconnected to why you are here, who you are, and the whole bigger cosmic game that's going on. Makes it very difficult to slip back into this tiny little human projection. So it's your duty, your task, it's an act, it's an expression of you loving yourself, to expose yourself to those streams of clarity. And nobody's going to do that for you. Nobody can do that for you. That's why it's an act of self-love. I think you deserve it, but even that's up to you. I know you're capable of it. I know you're worthy of it. But the choice remains yours. Jessica asked about India. And India, for me at the moment, is a no-go. At least for that timing and or that location. So you can scrap that from your calendar for now. And there's a couple other options that are floating around, but they haven't quite found their footing yet. But potentially somewhere in the latter half of March, through and or beyond, or on a separate occasion, April, May. So it's lingering. I'm feeling into options still. For some reason, India has not resonated for a while now. It did initially, but just not been able to feel a full yes for it. So just gonna have to trust that. Maybe something has to change in this group, or maybe it's just a matter of time and space and location that needs to align in a certain way. I don't quite know for sure at this point, but I do know for sure that I don't feel a full yes, and I wouldn't want to go through with that because it affects dozens of people's lives and schedules, and so I'm gonna have to trust this. So that's freed up. Yep, I'm just gonna leave you with this and see what happens, see what arises for you, see what clears for you. and see what inspiration, if anything, comes from that into the group. And we'll take it from there. Love you very much. All is well, all is perfect. You guys did a great job. Thank you for speaking up and not fearing my bark. It's funny how all this mental stuff just gets in the way again, huh? And then we need to slash and slice and scoop up and uproot and work through and answer questions. Whereas when you're clear, when you take the ownership to expose yourself to a stream of clarity, again, whatever that is for you, several times a week, at least once a week for an extended period of time, not just 5 minutes, at least 2 hours a week in a single setting, and then ideally 2 hours a day. Until such a time where you can carry yourself entirely. But accessing a stream of clarity allows you to get to that point. Until then, you need that constant stream because the veil is convincing. And that makes sense. You've been in it for a while. But you need to be able to access that sense of yourself beyond the veil, beyond the human horseshit, beyond even the physical sense of yourself, beyond the senses. You need to access that, be able to access that as often as you can. And so when you find something that does that for you, expose yourself to it. You can't always battle yourself. You will not always win. But you can always make a point out of stopping, pausing for 2 hours every week and contacting something that does put you back in that clarity where it's just light, where it's just that sense of the self or the light self or the true self or even the higher self or your calling or whatever resonates. As long as it uplifts you and gives you that more expanded sense of yourself. Very important, especially as a wanderer. I'm not going to be able to do that for you. And if you don't care, then you're not going to be able to do that for you. And watch the Amsterdam event if you can. Pretty good. Thank you all here for being present. So much love and clarity and respect for people. And everyone here signed some kind of a confidentiality agreement as well, but also they're just trustworthy people and good friends and close. So, and half of them is tier 1. So thank you for your service, also extending it to this local group here so we can also dance on the frequencies of greater union. Appreciate the offer. For next week, I'm going to ask you to ask yourself the question, how am I going to be of service to others this week? Beyond my normal range, outside of my normal ways, in a new, fresh, exciting way. That's aligned with me, not as a doership that contradicts your self-realization or whatever. Something in alignment with you. If that is self-realization, then have it be in the form of a meditation where you visualize everyone being in this light. That's an act. As long as it feels new to you and like it activates something in you. Be more attentive to service to others in the way that's most desirous for you as well. Because it's always tricky when it becomes too much about yourself again. Processing, the spiritual journey needs to be balanced with service to others in an active form. Meditation is active, it's not passive. Any attempt, any will towards service to others, whether it's non-physical or physical, is an activation of service to others. Sitting down and meditating is not essentially service to self. It's only when you go for too long without activating that remembrance of why you're here, just to help. And then go back to the calling work. Just get inspired. Watch a session on the calling work. Very simple. And make the sheet again. You know, a few times a year, you want to make that sheet. What elements of my life, list them all down. My relationship, my job, my environment, my children, my activities, my hobbies, my addictions, my everything. See which of these need to be eliminated. They're not in alignment with my calling, with who I truly am right now. Which ones need to be elevated? They're okay, but they need some work. They need some integrity. They need some maintenance. They need some up-leveling. And which aspects need to be created? They're not there yet. Whether it's a new environment or a new hobby or a new schedule or a new activity. You should do that several times a year. Really, really, really should do that several times a year. Just my opinion. My opinion is that you should do that several times a year. Free will and all. This is nice. Actually, it's nice to be with you guys. All your minds are much more quiet. Very good. Can you feel it? It's funny, right? We're not even in the same room, but you can just feel it in the ethers of our group soul. We can make the world great again, including America. Through ourselves. Recycle. Recycle the bullshit through your light transformer. I gotta shut this call off. I'm getting awfully new agey. Light transformer. Jesus Christ. That's what you are, though. All the time, the world's passing through you. You don't even realize it. All the time, other people's lives are passing through you. What's the vibration that you're infusing into those seeds, those aspects that are flowing through you? Whatever space you're in, that's what you're giving to the world. If you want to stop polluting the world, start with your frequency. This is a really cool group. They just need some reminders every once in a while, some schlepping around. But then it's really potent. It's really cool. It's really good. Just stay connected. So much power here. It's just the human stuff gets, clogs up the pipes. Best thing you can do when you're undisciplined, which you are, just assume that you're undisciplined. It's the safest thing to do. And that gives you something positive to work with, something constructive. Okay, I'm conditioned by an absolutely undisciplined society. And so that's part and parcel of how I behave and how I think. It's just the way it is. Better to admit that. Not to stay stuck at it, but just admit it. Like, I am going to assume that I'm not nearly as disciplined as I could be. That's okay. But then what do I do? What's the next best thing I can do if I am not always self-disciplined yet? If I don't have that momentum completely innate within my control yet, it is to at least commit to certain amounts of time, which is nothing but attention, a certain chunk of attention, to be plugged into a stream of clarity that takes you beyond your current state of thinking. That's it. That's what you can do. There's no excuse for that. You have an excuse, you have a valid excuse in my book for being undisciplined. Not forever. I mean, that's something you want to train. But that takes time, it takes training. I haven't found any other way around it. You can have an immediate awakening, all that stuff can be immediate. Self-discipline doesn't come immediately. I've never seen it happen. It requires training. So, okay, fair enough. You have that excuse, you were born on earth. But don't tell me you can't put aside in your schedule 2 consecutive hours every week to connect your attention span to a stream of clarity that up-levels you. There's no excuse for that. There's a reason for that, and it's not loving yourself, but there's no excuse for it. Are you doing okay, Carla? I just noticed your picture. Cool. Good. We'll send you some love and light. Or are you voluntarily laying on a bed that looks like a hospital bed with a blue sheet on your pillow with some kind of a screen in front of your mouth? Well, many blessings, much protection. One day soon, you're all gonna laugh so hard. So hard. Laughter, LOL. There's a laughter that will arise out of this infinite void where nothing ever happened, nothing ever mattered, and you're just gonna laugh so hard at your life and at the whole human game, at the whole universal game. You're gonna laugh at your soul, you're gonna laugh at balancing love and wisdom, you're gonna laugh at sixth density, you're gonna laugh at the aliens. It's a very loving laugh, but it's a hard one. It's a profound laugh. Yeah, really, watch the Amsterdam retreat. I think you guys will love it. And I think some tier 1 people already purchased it. If you really don't have the means to purchase it right now, but your desire for it is genuine and strong, then feel free to email lisa@bentinhomassaro.com and ask for the coupon code. Again, if you can pay for it, that would be appreciated. Some people already did. But if you really perceive you don't have those means, then feel free to ask for the coupon code. I really recommend you watch it. Okay? Bye. And smoke a cigar sometime. You might be surprised. Not you, Carla. Keep breathing that oxygen. Ciao.